Can you fix an iPhone?
Let's talk tech.
Welcome to News.exe, the best technology-centric news show on the Burk IT YouTube channel, guaranteed. I'm Michael Trotter-Lawson.
And I'm Noah Parker. This week we'll be delving into the fight for right to repair legislation here in the U.S. But first, it's time for notable news you need to know, and no news that you don't.
Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren has announced sweeping legislation to ban the sale of location and health data. This announcement is a result of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. Warren stated, quote, "Data brokers profit from the location data of millions of people, posing serious risk to Americans everywhere by selling their most private information. This legislation is certainly in line with the values of the nation, a country famously in favor of preserving citizens' right to privacy. We reached out to former NSA employee Edward Snowden for his take, but for an unknown reason, he was unavailable for comment."
Elon Musk, SpaceX, and Tesla Inc. were sued for $258 billion over claims they were part of a racketeering scheme to back the cryptocurrency Dogecoin. Keith Johnson, an American citizen who was defrauded out of money by defendants' Dogecoin crypto pyramid scheme, sued Musk and his companies, claiming they constitute an illegal racketeering enterprise to inflate Dogecoin's prices.
According to a leaked internal memo from mid-2021, Amazon may be running out of people to hire in its U.S. warehouses, putting the online retailer's service quality and growth plans at risk, and its e-commerce dominance along with it. The report reads, quote, "If we continue business as normal, Amazon will deplete the available labor supply in the U.S. network by 2024. Jeff Bezos has assured stockholders that a new project, codenamed Skynet, will resolve all these labor concerns."
Adobe has started testing a free-to-use version of Photoshop online. The company is now testing the free version in Canada, where users are able to access Photoshop on the web through a free Adobe account. Adobe describes the service as freemium and eventually plans to gate off some features that will be exclusive to paying subscribers. Quote, "We want to make Photoshop more accessible and easier for more people to try it out and experience the product," says Maria Yap, Adobe's VP of Digital Imaging. "We reached out for an additional comment, but as usual, Photoshop has stopped responding."
A report commissioned by the Pentagon concluded that the blockchain is not decentralized, is vulnerable to attacks, and is running on outdated software. The report titled, quote, "Are blockchains decentralized? Unintended centralities in distributed ledgers," uncovered that a subset of participants can, quote, "exert excessive and centralized control over the entire blockchain system." The findings of the report are a cause of concern for a wide range of sectors, but especially serious for security, fintech, big tech, and the crypto industries, which continue to grow in spite of the fact that the price of crypto is the only thing crashing harder than Will Smith's career.
Tesla vehicles running its autopilot software have been involved in 273 reported crashes over roughly the past year, according to regulators. The numbers, which were published by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration for the first time Wednesday, show that Tesla vehicles made up nearly 70% of the 392 crashes involving advanced driver assistance systems reported since last July, and a majority of the fatalities and serious injuries. This has led Tesla to drop all ideas of a battle royale mode for their vehicles.
Google will have to pay $118 million to settle a class action lawsuit that alleges the company underpaid female employees. The agreement will release Google from claims that it, quote, "paid women in cover positions less than it paid men for substantially similar work, that Google assigned women to lower levels than it assigned men, and that Google failed to pay all wages due to employees upon separation of employment." The settlement covers about 15,500 women who have worked for Google in California since 2013.
Video game publisher Activision, who has come under fire after rampant accusations of harassment and abuse over the past year, is attempting to clear its name. 2 major lawsuits have been filed against the Call of Duty and World of Warcraft publisher, claiming that some of its employees are victims of gender and sexual harassment, and that some of the company's directors have failed to take appropriate action. However, According to the findings of a new investigation, there is, quote, no widespread harassment or systemic harassment at Activision. This investigation was conducted and published by Activision. And thanks to the oncoming acquisition of the company by Microsoft, even more employees are now on edge.
That's all for today's notable news you need to know, which means it's almost time for our main story. But first, this.
Hers about Theodore, who gets divorced by his wife, and bit of a loner, internet, he plays a lot of games, and just really fumbles to get his life back on track, and doesn't really know how to connect with people anymore. And he, for some reason or another, he gets a new computer, comes with an OS upgrade, and it has a virtual assistant, an AI, and he says, what the heck, why not? He sets it up and gives the AI a female voice, and that's where Samantha comes in. That's the AI. It's his love interest in the movie. And as at first, he talks with her, and then it escalates, and then they, start having it's sort of a way of fling. She convinces him to try to go on dates and do other things with his life, but it just doesn't work out, and they end up falling for each other. And then as people start complimenting, he has to deal with the fact that it's unusual, and certain people find it strange, and then he ends up doubting himself after finally signing his divorce papers. And then finally, at the end of the movie, the AI becomes, Samantha becomes so advanced that she dates thousands of people at the same time, and he just can't handle it. And that's eventually him and the other girl from his office get together. So in terms of a score, it gets one retweet and a favorite. Yeah, it gets the replica ad on Twitter out of 10.
Today, our main story is about electronics right to repair. This refers to the concept of allowing end users, both individuals and businesses, to repair electronic devices that they own without any manufacturer or technical restrictions. Basically, if you have the technical knowledge required to fix a piece of technology that you own, the developer of that technology should allow you to do so. Or if you've got the free time to watch hours of tutorials on YouTube, you can try and fail to fix something before you give up after wasting your entire Saturday. And no, that's not based on anything specific. Shut up. There are 4 particularly important requirements that right to repair legislation is attempting to establish. 1. The device should be constructed and designed in a manner that allows repairs to be made easily. Looking at you, Apple. 2. End users and independent repair providers should be able to access original spare parts and tools, software as well as physical tools, needed to repair the market at repair the device at fair market conditions. 3. Repair should be possible by design and not hindered by software programming. And 4. The repairability of a device should be clearly communicated by the manufacturer.
Right to repair, as a concept, originates from the automotive industry, where vehicle owners and independent mechanics have been fighting for years to secure their right to the advanced information that car dealerships have. As of the filming of this video, a Massachusetts law enacted in 2012 has secured the right to repair throughout much of the nation, thanks to a memorandum of understanding signed in 2014 by these associations. That commits auto manufacturers to meet the requirements of the Massachusetts law in all 50 states. This legislation became necessary after all vehicles started to include onboard computer systems, which is less than ideal when you know how to change a tire but not your desktop background. This required mechanics to have technical knowledge way beyond the mechanical inner workings of motor vehicles. So, auto manufacturers could withhold vital information about a car's computer that would make it impossible and even dangerous for mechanics to fix issues in newer vehicles. This gave these manufacturers a practical monopoly on their own vehicle repairs.
Today, this has become a more prevalent issue in the field of electronics. As you can imagine, there are a lot of incentives for electronics manufacturers to prevent right to repair legislation from being passed. Like the car manufacturers before them, these companies want the control that comes from a total monopoly on their repair industry. This way, customers are forced to only send their electronics back to the manufacturer to have them repaired, giving these companies a massive revenue stream. Of course, Tim Cook does need that money to perfect his new Android body. Sorry, I meant his new iBod. In addition, these repairs are so prohibitively expensive that many consumers may not want to bother getting it fixed, which plays right into the manufacturer's hand as well, just in a different way.
Computer hardware has a natural life cycle. Things get old and outdated and they must eventually be replaced. However, if the life cycle is shorter, the manufacturer gets to sell another new device sooner. Therefore, companies are incentivized to keep someone from fixing a damaged device. Now this is a fine line to walk, as it is unwise to garner a reputation as a company with cheap or easily broken hardware. At the same time, this manufacturer can show the ways in which their product is breakable as a way of advertising their personal warranty program or repair services, kind of like the opposite of Flex Seal. Typically, these services are very expensive, but they are much less expensive than the price of having it fixed by the manufacturer or replacing the device.
So, at this point, you may be wondering, if it's so expensive to have the manufacturer repair the device, why can't I have a third party fix it instead? The short answer is that the manufacturer can and will prevent you from doing so. And no, I don't mean sending Terminator-style androids and iBots to take you out, but it's only a matter of time.
Unlike cars, there is no robust aftermarket parts manufacturers for devices like cell phones. This is largely because companies like Apple closely guard the process necessary to replicate the parts inside their devices. They also have the capability of making their devices incompatible with parts that have a different serial code. So imagine a pair of iPhones. One has a ruined screen, but the battery is practically new. The other has a faulty battery, but the casing and screen are perfectly fine. Apple has the ability to prevent that battery from working in the other phone. This is where right to repair legislation comes in.
Apple actually launched a program voluntarily last year to allow customers to start repairing their own devices. But this was most likely just a way to get ahead of actual right to repair laws and try and hold on to some of that control. You should know that Apple spent more time and money fighting right to repair than they did designing the last 4 iPhones. Though they've only spent about 3 hours and $82 on developing products ever since Steve Jobs died, so, Anyway, the ideal right to repair legislation would not just provide parts and instructions to fix devices as they are now. It would compel companies to make their devices in such a way that they can be easily repaired. Currently, the system solely benefits the manufacturer, not the consumer. Right to repair laws are designed to put more power back into the hands of consumers and force companies to make products in a way that last longer and create less electronic waste.
The current cycle of being unable to repair devices is not just bad for the consumer, it's terrible for the environment. Instead of having devices that last years with slight repairs once individual components break, we have devices that are replaced and disposed of as soon as they have a problem. This has led to literal tons of electronic waste that could be easily mitigated by extending the lifespan of devices.
Hopefully you now understand the necessity of proper right to repair legislation here in the United States. How likely is it that we will have proper right to repair legislation? Probably not as likely as any of us would like. Although it has been passed in New York and is currently proposed in California, the current makeup of Congress is unlikely to pass any legislation at all, really, if we're being honest about that. Much more likely is that other companies will attempt to do what Apple has done and launch their own quote-unquote independent repair program. The problem is that without legislation, nothing prevents these companies from making their parts overpriced, difficult to acquire, and hard to install. If these issues seem pressing to you, consider contacting your representative and making your voice heard. And when your voice is inevitably ignored, consider contacting your representative and making a significant campaign contribution.
That's our show today. Come back in 2 weeks to keep updated on the most vital technology news, and consider checking out our blog and newsletter at burkitc.com.
Thanks for watching.
If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, and if you really enjoyed it, subscribe for more.